will always have a dark shadow of the Marikana moment, and no one can ever escape it.
They still deny that a massacre happened. They still deny that they killed someone. They are, in effect, from their actions, still denying that we stopped you from having a father. We are the reason why, when you go to the mountain, your father won't be the one who checks up on you.
No.
As far as they are concerned, the 6th of August didn't happen.
There was a request for ambulances to be brought through onto the 16th. But people from the national offices stated that you can't bring ambulances. We need mortuary vans. There was orders of rubber bullets. People were told that you can't be bringing rubber bullets. We need live ammunition. So it was as a result of that point that we'll be able to tell you now that it was a premeditated murder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EFF podcast. My name is Lebogang Mujapilu, and I'm the editor in the EFF Communications Department. We have two special guests here for a special edition of our podcast. We are remembering the massacre of 34 mine workers in Marikana on the 16th of August, 2012. It is a very painful part of our history, and I think an unresolved one to a large extent. And I have two guests here who are going to unpack the story with me and tell us where we stand now in terms of who has been held accountable, have the victims been compensated, how are their families coping at this stage. I have Andries Nkome, who is a lawyer who has been representing the victims, the families of the massacre. And I also have Nomzamo Zondo, who is a public interest lawyer working with SERI, who has also been representing the widows of Marikana since the Farlam inquiry. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much, Mujapelo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. And I think it's adequate to say that it's a very painful part of our history, and perhaps even more painful because it's still an ongoing thing. It's been, how many years? 13 years. And yet there are still so many things that are unresolved for the survivors and for the families of the survivor, of those who were murdered. Andries, you've been working with the families and the other victims since 2012. Can you tell us how that journey has been and what forms of consultation have taken place and what is still outstanding for the victims and the families?
No, thank you very much, Mujapelo, and I think thanks to the viewers. I believe it's best that we should set the record straight from the beginning. We represent the two warring factions in terms of the terms of reference which were laid by the then President Zuma. We represent the survivors of the massacre, whilst Socio-Economic Rights Institute, where Nomzamo comes from, is an institute that represents the families of the deceased mine workers.
All right.
Now, our clients, the survivors, are accused in terms of the terms of reference laid by Zuma to have caused the deaths of those that passed on. So we are sitting essentially on the flip side of the same coin.
Yes.
If you may call it that. But what happened in Marikana was that right after people were injured and shot at and some killed, there were about 279 that were arrested. So we went and appeared on the 20th of August. I remember going there, it was on a Monday, quite chilly, in Rustenburg. It wasn't the nicest of appearances. And we sought to get the first prize, which was to get our people released so that the rest of the other contentious issues could be dealt with at a later stage. So we went and had them released about 20 or if not 25 days later. And then the Farlam Commission of Inquiry started.
Yes.
So we sat in there and we had the commission continue. We had many criminal cases that proceeded that we dealt with to finality. So the long and short of the litigation that we've been involved in ever since this matter started was that we were seeking the government to be liable for the massacre, to compensate those people that had been arrested, as well as to also compensate those that were injured. So we are close to finality. We've settled 99.999% of the claims of the arrested. We've also settled the same in respect of the injured. But we are now at the point where we are supposed to collaborate with SERI to look into how best do we go and bring forth a case where the president, in his personal capacity, is supposed to be held personally liable and to compensate for constitutional damages?
Okay, so the compensation that has occurred is for those who were arrested for their arrests and those who were injured for the injuries that occurred. The compensation from president is in his personal capacity?
In his personal capacity, yes.
Okay.
It's a separate matter, which
All
is
right.
running in the South Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg.
So this is going back to the president himself at the time, being a shareholder in Lonmin, and at the same time giving direction to the police to take action on the striking workers.
Yes, our argument is that he was a shareholder of Lonmin, so he had a personal interest in what transpired with the labor dispute, but also he was an NEC member of the ruling party.
Yes.
So that allowed him to be able to exert pressure and to say to the police minister, you do this otherwise. And hence he characterized the labor dispute as a dastardly criminal act.
Yes. Okay, so you are really then leaning into questioning this collusion and actually highlighting and shining a light on this collusion between capital and the state.
Indeed so, yes.
All right, thank you. And Nomzamo?
Thank you so much. It's always phenomenal because I think it's good that people always confuse
Yes.
precisely because if you look at the videos in the minutes before the massacre, the people that you see on those videos, right? Those that fall and never stand up, and those that eventually stand up, and those who manage to run away,
Yes.
we're in the same group and in the same camp. So our clients have always taken that perspective. In fact, in the Commission of Inquiry, when the Legal Aid Board, Legal Aid South Africa, refused to fund the legal team of the miners, our clients stayed out of the commission in solidarity with them, being quite clear that no one can tell the story of what happened except those who survived.
Yes.
Many of them, if they were lucky, they were in Kaneng, but many of them were very far away. So you always see us walking this journey together as those who survived the massacre and those who didn't, the families of those who didn't survive the massacre. And so for our clients, with a number of claims, at the very top, there was this request for an apology. And that request for an apology was asked from the Minister of Police to say, apologize for what the police did on that day. Even as we speak today, on the 7th of August, we're in court to mediate the dispute. And the position of the state is that we are not legally entitled to an apology. And if we are to get one, the court must order it. Number two, our clients then also sought to be compensated for the funds that their mine workers, being husbands, brothers, family members, would have supported them with. And in 2015, in the very first meeting we had with the police and as the victims group, they said to us they are legitimate claims. And therefore, as Andries even says now, they identified the breadwinner's claim as a legitimate claim. And in the same way, the arrested's claim for their time in detention and the injured's claim as legitimate. What they probably term as illegitimate are the claims for any of the pain that is caused by the massacre. So when we say to them that our clients have had to, either have had to seek medical help for the trauma that was caused by the massacre, or will need it in the future, they say to us, but your clients didn't face the barrel of the gun, so they're not entitled to that claim, number one. Two, we then say to them, through the massacre, our clients lost wives, lost spouses, children lost parents, and our constitution had guaranteed the miners the right to life, but it guarantees our clients the right to family life, which is the right to have your spouse nurse you when you are ill, the right to have your father watch you finish high school, graduate, and those things are lost to them forever, and those should be compensated. And again, their position is that that is not a right that we're entitled to in our law, and we cannot get it. And then we also had a claim for grief, and I'll put the claim for grief together with the claim for pain and suffering.
Pain and trauma,
And their response again is that the claim for grief, they don't believe is recognized in our law. And again, the claim for pain and suffering is not one that can be claimed by the widows who even sat through a commission of inquiry, who year in, year out are reminded they can see what happened. They say that you're not entitled to that because you are not in the front line facing the barrel of a gun. And so as we sit now, so just as I say, as of the 7th of August, the position of the state is that for the SERI acts, so the police killed 3 mine workers on the 13th of August. We act for those 3 families. They also killed 34 mine workers on the 16th of August. Of the 34 that were killed on the 16th of August, we act for 33. The 34th family was represented by the Legal Resources Center, and they were fully compensated, I think, in 2018.
Okay.
Or I don't want to say fully compensated, but they were compensated in 2018. And they settled their claim. For the clients that we represent, 2 haven't been compensated at all, haven't received a single state
in any form whatsoever.
Not even 1 rand from the state. And 2, there's 2 just separate issues. For one family, we have a guy who Tobile Mpumza. There was a year that it really set in my soul how he was basically the last person to die on the day of the massacre. But how he runs out of his hiding place after having heard a complete silence for a few seconds.
So this is after the first round of
he's killed in the he's killed in the second
second round. Okay.
In the second copy. And he runs out thinking, okay, there's been some silence. I can't hear any more gunshots. And he runs out and immediately realizes that he's not safe. He goes back in. And then he runs out again. When he runs out again, he's killed.
Oh my.
But he's killed having been someone who lost his parents in his late teens. He's killed as someone who's who's supporting at that time his adult siblings in the Royal Eastern Cape. Already at that time, he'd been fired in a 2011 strike at Lonmin. So he wasn't even employed at Lonmin at that time. So he considered himself a mine worker because he's been unfairly dismissed. He participates in this strike. But while he's participating in the strike, in the months before, he's working as a mechanic. And month in, month out, whatever sense that he can cobble together, he can find, he sends home. But the state takes a position that because the people that he was sending money to are not his parents, are not his wife, are not his child, they will not compensate those people. They can see the loss, they can understand there's a loss, but they say there was no legal obligation on him to support those people.
Of those people.
And therefore, there is no legal obligation on them to replace what is lost. They don't care about the fact that 2 years after the massacre, Lonmin re-employs all the mine workers that were dismissed in 2011. And he was on that list.
He was on that list to be re-employed.
That he would have been earning this money, he would have been supporting the very same people. The state does not care about that. Their position is, you must go to court, and the court must tell us that we must compensate this family. That is the family of Tobile Mpumza. Yes.
And then there's the second case that also has not been compensated.
So the second case that's not been compensated is also similarly interesting. It relates to Mr. Mutisaitsile Schalal, who was 60 at the time of the massacre. He was 3.5 years away from the retirement at Lonmin. He left behind his adult son who has a mental disability, and another son, and his mother. And his mother eventually dies, I think, in 2018, so she's been gone for some time. But in the time, we then say to the state, you need to compensate. In fact, the state goes and calculates what their loss is. They give it to us after we've proven to them that the other son could never have supported himself. And then, honestly, I think Andries probably has had better success than us at this. I think out of an administrative hodgepodge in the state attorney's office, this claim is not resolved. At the time that they've done the calculation, they've accepted the liability. And then even when the state, the Solicitor General, who's the first one in the country, is appointed, we write to him, you say, like, there are these 2 claims
that are not,
from we understand you have a position on legitimate claims. We understand that these fall under your definition of legitimate. We don't agree with the definition of legitimate, but already on your own position. these should have been compensated. You already calculated the loss for this one family. Just paid.
Finalize, yeah.
When we met on the 7th of August, we could not resolve that matter. So that family, Mrs. Khalala, according to the calculation, would have continued work until he was 65. So the money that we are claiming is money that the family would have had between
those years,
2012 and 2017. Now in 2025, the state hasn't paid that family that money, and they are and it's almost as if they'll only pay it if a court tells them. After they've accepted.
Okay, so they've accepted that it is within the very strange bounds of legitimacy that they're using, and they've accepted that this is the amount of money that's going on, that they have to pay, but they are not feeling pressure to do it unless there is a court order or something. Well, but I mean, you've been through the process.
So I don't even. So this is the thing, because even when we met with them, it's just sort of like, we don't understand why we are stuck here, right? We might disagree with your position on the Mpumza family, but we know what your position is.
Yes.
But in relation to the Khalala family, we don't know. 8 years after Mrs. Khalala would have retired, the money that they haven't paid that family was supposed to support them between 2012 and 2017. In 2025, they haven't paid it. And they are not even burning to pay it.
This has this been like the general experience? I want to know from you as well of dealing with the state and other responsible entities in trying to get any form of justice and compensation, because it seems like, I mean, from the beginning of the framing of the strike itself, there was a general kind of dehumanization of these people, of these mine workers. In fact, from their employment, for them to be even looking for a living wage of 12,500, I mean, it means they were not even earning a proper living wage. So there's a very strict objectification of them and the service that they provide in the mines, and a complete undervaluing of it, which we've come to expect because we live in Africa. And then they begin to strike, and then even the images and the way it is portrayed within the media and the way the police deal with the issue is just a continuing and further kind of even criminalization and a lack of humanity placed on them and what they are asking for. And then it comes to the point of the way they are murdered, where they are, I mean, I think a lot of us watched it, you know, when in Minor Shutdown, Riyadh Desai, as they were coming down the mountain, and then you see the way the police open fire and the way their bodies are treated and the way they're denied access to healthcare. So it's almost as if even now in your journey towards attempting to gain some sort of justice, some sort of clarity, some sort of just acknowledgement of what has happened to these miners and those who survived and those who were harmed and those who had to survive what their family members experienced, just a continuing lack of regard for their lives. I don't know has this been your experience as well, like in terms of trying to push to get any sort of attention to this?
Look, I can't agree with you more in respect of how these people have been treated from day one. But I think also I've repeatedly been saying that the extent of progress that we have made was simply because we relied on the courts.
Okay.
The other side was not even looking at having a discussion with us, having some sort of a settlement, as Nomzamo says. So you would see even from the videos that you're talking about that people are picked up like that and thrown around. Later on, we got to even learn in the Farlam Commission of Inquiry that there were pictures that were taken where these people had armaments or arms that were placed on them post them being shot. So therefore, a picture was being sought to be painted by the government parties that says these people were seeking to attack the police, and which was never the case. So in the ordinary course, would still be in the same boat as SERI insofar as not being able to settle the claims unless we can only be happy that the Deputy Judge President in Pretoria decided that we can prioritize these matters. We can have a block settlement of typical of these matters, and all those that are ready for settlement should be brought to court, and we should be able to meet up with the lawyers of the state and finalize the matters. So I think it's sad that we have got a government that doesn't see much of mine workers, even worse, of rock drill operators. Rock drill operators were the bottom of the barrel, the best people, the people that were at the rock face. But at the time that we got there, they were earning less than 3,500. Imagine, despite the fact that you might have been working there for a 20-year period or even more. It was just so sad. But fortunately, the courts are seeking to bring the justice that we're looking for, and we are collaborating and working with them.
I would like to know more, maybe to dig more into the Farlam inquiry, because then this is the inquiry that is instituted by President Zuma at the time to enter into like what happened, and then there were some recommendations and sort of views given around what it is that happened. I don't know what your experiences of it were and what you think of the inquiry process.
The best way for me to describe it is when we met to deliver the report to our clients, we met at Wits University, I remember distinctly. And the reality was that we were mourning. We were mourning when we received the report. In fact, in my mind, it has a soundtrack. Those who are closer, they'll know this, of a hymn that says, Zode zigqibeke zonke, kuthi shabala konke, ube wena usahleli, ube wena usaphethe, which is a song about God and about how everything, he will supersede everything. Everything will disappear, everything, but he'll remain God. And it was, I'm just trying to explain as a lawyer, that is the soundtrack that was in my mind. When we went to tell our clients that the report is out, they had to fight for it. Maybe Andries will speak to that. But this is what the report has been publicly released to us, has been now released to the public, and we are now able to tell you what it says. Because at the core of it, there was like, the miners sought to enforce the strike through violence, and that's why we are here.
Oh,
that was the lead. That was the lead of the report. And then on the other hand, the report, there were requests not just from us, but even people like CASEC, who were outside the victim parties, who are saying, let the commission finalize the issue of compensation. The commission says it's not for us. On the issue of any of wrongdoing from any party, in fact, it then says, have the DPP put together a team and let everything be investigated. At the time that the report was released to us, it was June 2015.
Correct.
It was June 2015, just 2 months short of 3 years since the massacre. And so the commission was saying, let now someone start afresh and investigate this. And then it said things about policing, some of the things that are heart-wrenching. So you mentioned earlier the failure to provide emergency health care to the miners at the time. So, for instance, the family member of one of our clients, Mr. Yona, would not have died if someone had simply bandaged him. And
just a simple bandaging.
And in fact, our pathologists, they call it a tourniquet. There's some like very scientific name, but just basically saying someone had torn a T-shirt and put it around him, he would have survived. So there's an issue about, so the commission deals with it as an issue about first aid, but also deals with it as an issue of accountability for those commanders who, one specific one, who could have made sure that the ambulances that reach the families. There's the fact that four of the people who die so far from the police line because of the arms that the police were using, R5s, which so they are killed. So I think the person who's killed the furthest is Mr. Dingwan, about 400 meters away.
The police got him from 400 meters.
So it's not like he couldn't have been a threat. He couldn't have been. And
they could not even have seen what he was doing or anything.
No. But he dies because of the range that the R5 has.
Yes. I mean, those are like heavy ammunition. That is like, those are heavy artillery.
The police experts from all the parties, not just like from our side or what, from all the parties agree that automatic rifles like the R5, like the R1, have no place in policing.
No.
Leave alone in crowd management, have no place in policing. So you have that, and the commission deals with that to say, this must end. No one else should have to die in that way. Again, because it's partly my job. One of the people who dies is Mr. Gwelani. Gwelani is called by his cousin, who works at the mine, who survives, who works at the mine, who says, please bring me lunch. He's looking for work around Rustenburg. So he comes from the informal settlement to bring lunch. And this R5 bullet ends his life. That's Thembi Kosikwela.
So he's simply in the vicinity of the area. He was not directly on the copy.
So he came to the copy to bring lunch.
Yes.
So when President Matunjwa convinces the miners to
come down,
he's also coming down with them.
Oh, okay.
But he's in this. He's hidden from the police, and he dies just because of the R5s. So the commission deals with that. The commission then also says there were already at that time conversations from the National Planning Commission around how to change policing.
Yes.
And those recommendations must be implemented. One, so it's like someone else has already said, let that be implemented, and it's within government. And then they also say, go and appoint a panel of experts in policing who are going to look at this incident. And it's interesting because it's almost on both sides of the coin, because there, as I've said, Judge Farlam's view was very much, this was an extraordinary crowd with extraordinary aggression.
So that the police were at a loss as to how to deal with it, because it was, no one knew how to do with these people who are just not...
Yes, so part of his reasoning, he says, go and appoint a panel of experts who are not only going to advise on what should be done in crowd management situations, but to advise what do you do when you have this special
kind
type
of
crowds.
My word.
Right? And the panel of experts is appointed. Some great minds within policing have been working to reform the police. And the panel of experts does its work. It costs us money. They produce recommendations. For instance, they recommend, of course, in this situation, you prioritize life. They recommend that you distinguish in the crowd. You don't just act as if like there's just a group.
Everybody.
You look at the specific threat and you isolate. There are many things that they recommend.
Yes.
And then do you know what happens to that report? It gets shelved, put in a file in a cabinet, someone locks the key, throws it away. And then in March 2021.
So once this happens at the same time in 2015.
The panel of experts, well, I think they finished their work in 2018.
2018, and the report is supposed to go to...
It's supposed to go to Parliament, it's supposed to UPCOF, it's supposed to come to us as the public.
Oh, all right.
But it doesn't...
So it doesn't, and then you don't hear about whether or not they've released a report?
Know, right? I mean, the panel of experts have said, we're
done with the report.
We're handing over.
But
so
nothing happens.
All of us are waiting for the Minister of Police. And then in March 2021, the police kill a young man who's probably on sick leave, who's just left a doctor's office and is on his way home. In Braamfontein on Dipia Street, a gentleman, Mthokozi Sintumba. And when Mthokozi Sintumba dies, of course, questions are raised again to say, should we have not learned from Marikana?
That you don't shoot in this manner.
And then Minister Bekitsele now pulls out the report and it's released to the public.
Oh, so now he's using it, to say that...
It was almost
what is
like,
his justification in using this report?
It was sort of like we want to learn, I guess.
Oh,
we want to learn.
And
but
look at what we've previously done.
No, but after you've put it in the cabinet for 3 years, then now you want to learn. Now when this way, because I mean it was the most you must understand the killing of Mthokozi Sintumba was the most heartbreaking thing, and again because we saw it on television, all of us saw it.
Yes.
And so he's like, here's the panel of experts report. And we know now that they took that report and they worked a revision of national instruction to the police, national instruction 4. They put us a revision in 2022, kind of take some of those principles
and apply them into policing.
Yes, as policy, right? And you must understand, I'm a housing lawyer. And every other day, I do housing work. And one of the things that I always share on international stages, I always say, we've got the best law, we've got the best policies, but our problem is implementation. And so the question is, yes, we are grateful that National Instruction 4 now includes all of these principles. But the real test is when people are on the street.
Yes.
What happens? Do the police understand that their main job is to facilitate the protest?
Yes.
Do the police understand that? And then in doing that, do they respect the right to life?
Because it seems as if now we're actually scared, because the moment police are involved, there's going to be a guaranteed escalation. That is the kind of environment we live in now in South Africa, that the moment police are present, there is guaranteed to be an escalation.
I mean, basically, I mean, I don't even know I think it's someone else's headline that says no one dies until the police arrive.
That is true.
And so that question of we'll need to see. So it's revised in 2022. We're now in 2025. We need to be able to see whether it's being implemented, it's being brought into the police. But now this is the problem. In the commission, there's nothing about disciplining any of the police that were involved. So even though we can talk about the criminal prosecutor, criminal accountability, but there's nothing about discipline. And one of the things that the commission does address is the issue of closing of ranks. About how police, from the posture of the Minister of Police, from the posture of the National Commissioner, they were told, you did nothing wrong. What did she say? What you did represents the best of responsible policing.
Yes.
So police, right, had to just close ranks. It was only when we started attending the 2 criminal matters that were brought, especially the one around the 13th of August, that you could see also how broken the police are because they had to close ranks instead of just being honest about what happened. That they themselves
had been given.
They haven't dealt with the trauma. And also that you could see the anger. It's years later, it was by that time, this case started in 2021. I'm remembering something in 2022, 2023. The anger of the police who say, not only should the mine workers who died on the 13th not have died, but our colleagues who died shouldn't have died. Our colleagues who were injured shouldn't have been injured. But it's because someone gave an instruction that escalated the situation. Now I have to stand here and give evidence about why my friend that I used to sit and have lunch with is no longer alive. And it is that thing of you wish that the police had taken Marikana seriously.
Yes.
That they'd gone back and said, people are dead. People are dead. What should we have done differently? And how do we prepare you to differently? And how and for everyone, because look, this is what Farlam says. In scene 1, he says he believed that it was self-defense. That's the commissioner. Let me not say Farlam. I apologize. Judge Farlam.
The judge.
I apologize to Judge Farlam. No, but it's not only him, but it's at the end of the day.
It was
Commissioner, Commissioner Hemraj, Commissioner Tokota, and him.
And him, yes.
Who decide that it's that in scene 1, it was self-defense. And so he says, for anybody else who can't justify, who was shot so many times, they can't justify it, they must be investigated for that. And then he says for scene 2, just like everyone, I remember in my heart at that time, I was like, because he simply says scene 2 shouldn't have happened. He says, I don't even have to talk about scene 2 because scene 2 shouldn't have happened. Someone should have said, we have 17 bodies down. We don't even, we have a number of bodies down. It's a mess. Can we regroup?
We actually, and there is no clarity. They don't know what's going on. It's the kind of area it is. There's no clarity of who's gone, who isn't, how many are still standing, where is everybody? But also the instinctive policing that we're assuming that people should have of caring and saying, have we, is the threat gone? But because there was no isolation of threat, as you said, it was now let's keep going.
I mean, look
is that the...
I've spoken for a long time. I want Andries to come in because our feeling is also like then people were hunted down and murdered. It's not even a matter of threat because the issue of threat, like,
was not there to begin with.
so it's like my sense is this: if your worry is this crowd, and then people go and hide, why would you go and find them in their hiding place? Because for me, it's like when they scatter to hide, it's over for you.
Are we? Can we say that this was calculated to be like this from the beginning, from the moment that they were told to deal with the problem? This was the intention.
Look, I think a day prior to the massacre, we had a press briefing that was held by the Northwest Provincial Police Commissioner, where she stated that tomorrow is D-Day. And the questions were asked to say, but what do you mean by D-Day? What is it that you're going to do to stop the labor dispute? And she says, I'll not say anything, but we will know right after tomorrow. Now, right after that exercise, that press briefing, there was a request for ambulances to be brought through onto the 16th. But people from the national offices stated that you can't bring ambulances. We need mortuary vans. There was orders of rubber bullets, and people were told that you can't be bringing rubber bullets. We need live ammunition. So it was as a result of that point that we'll be able to tell you now that it was a premeditated murder of the people that were...
Okay, so where does Cyril's message to is it the Minister of Police?
Yes.
When does that happen?
That happens the week preceding. It preceded the press briefing.
So it preceded the press briefing.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So it was as a result of the messaging that the police then took the posture and say, let's have a press briefing and then
say it's D-Day.
Let's go in action.
And then began to organize mortuary vehicles, live ammunition.
Correct, yes. Look, I will add on to Nomzamo's point that says that the Commission of Inquiry seems to have followed more in line with the terms of reference that were set by the President Zuma then. But what stands out for us is the fact that the terms of reference were not allowing points to be made by the survivors of the massacre. So it looked as though a story was painted for those that passed on to say, here's how these people had been aggressive towards the police and here's how the police had to deal with them. And it was supposed to be case closed from there. So we participated in the commission without being accommodated by the terms of reference. Then over time, we indicated the importance of the story of a survivor of the massacre. Whereafter we said that legal aid was supposed to come through and assist us in being funded to participate in the commission. So had it not been for us being in that commission and being able to bring through the evidence that we brought, including the telephonic as well as the email communications, the truth wouldn't have been out. The conclusion could have been that there was very aggressive people that were out there seeking to attack the police, and therefore that conclusion was supposed to be arrived at. So I've been stating now of late that commissions of inquiry, they seem to be a pacifying drug for the sake of letting time pass, let us spend money as a government, and let's just get an entire nation to forget. So similar to what transpired in the Farlam Commission of Inquiry, in as much as there might have been other commissioners who were sitting there, but the commission is termed the Farlam Commission of Inquiry. So our opinion is that there is good reason why we're supposed to review its findings, because its findings stop short of putting blame at the hands of any politician, any person that was working in government, including also the person that went all out and characterized the labor dispute as a criminal act.
Yes.
Now, of late, we've got a judgment in the South Gauteng High Court where the court says, from its reading of all the evidence that we put, it can conclude that Mr. Ramaphosa, in his personal capacity, was the mastermind of the massacre that took place in Marikana. So, Farlam Commission of Inquiry doesn't say that, but the court says that. So, therefore, it means we are then supposed to subject the commission's report to the court for it to say, here is the outcomes that are supposed to have been arrived at, and here's the recommendations that we needed to have out of the inquiry.
So, I mean, for instance, I would differ with Andries here. Because one of the things, our clients were in the rural Eastern Cape, in Lesotho, in Swaziland, they were dispersed. They would never have had access to the information that we have today without
if
that
it was
commission.
not for the commission.
And I want to make this point. So the 4 mortuary vans that were ordered, each mortuary van takes 8 bodies. And I kid you not, 32 bodies left Marikana in those mortuary vans that day. Exact, like
Exactly.
the calculation was exact.
Yes.
The other, I think it's maybe 31. The other 3 people die in hospital. So now when we think, because for us, that's when we say there was an intentional killing, we say this people knew. So or maybe even if they had a reckless reconciliation with whatever happened, they told themselves, if they die, they die. You know, they said like Esther, if I perish, I perish. And they prepared themselves for that. But now, 13 years on, the people that are sitting with those decisions, the people that are sitting with those losses are our respective clients.
Yes.
Being the surviving minors, being the families who lost their loved ones. The people who took that decision, or if they die, they die, are nowhere to be seen.
No.
Haven't been disciplined in the police, haven't been put through the criminal justice system, haven't even themselves contributed financially to whatever happened. Everybody's just like, oh. In fact, the most frustrating thing was the time we learned, I think it must have been in 2022, that Ria Piecha was fighting for the state to pay her legal fees for her attempt to overturn the commission of an inquiry that decided that she's unfit to hold office.
Yes.
And she was fighting for those legal fees, and she's saying, in that, I mean, you know, there's always like media, in the media narrative, she's saying, I've been overly demonified for this. I am just a small fish. And then now I'm left to deal with this. And our thing is to welcome her to our camp.
Yes.
We say to her,
come on over.
come this
You
side.
seem you're a small fish. Tell us more.
Yes.
How
give us
exactly
the
were you
full-
used in this situation?
Give us the full information of what happened. You were the chairperson of that NMF meeting. You can tell us why in the meeting the decisions, why the minutes
Yes,
disappeared. You can
exactly.
tell us all these things. Right?
And why do you feel like you were powerless in this situation
But we don't have that. Instead, we have everyone being saying, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. Andres, I don't know if you remember this. So our clients, just as Andres was saying, no one anticipated the participation of our clients in the commission. Either of our clients.
Yeah.
And so when we come on, so our clients, we had a PowerPoint presentation. It was called the Families Presentation. And it just simply told the story of who these men were and how their death affected their families. And I promise you not, as a young lawyer who just joined SERI, I received letters from the police saying, we take umbrage with the fact that your statement says the police killed whoever. We don't want you can't say they killed. Like, all of us saw it
happening.
all of us saw it. What do you mean? I want you to understand how obscene and insane
that
the situation was.
The victims could not even be victims. They could not even be fully victims in that situation.
No, and imagine, because you must understand that the narrative and even the media narrative,
yes, definitely,
had vilified our loved ones, had vilified the surviving minors. But then just simply to say the police killed, not murdered, not even the story of we fight, is it a tragedy, is it a massacre, is it murder, is it couple homicide, is it what, just like killed. It is the bullet that left your gun that caused no.
Nomzamo, you can't believe this. With the first commemoration of the Marikana massacre, we had to apply to the police to host the event at the Kopi. Now, they said to us that in this instance, you're supposed to give us even the agenda of what it is that you're going to be talking about. On the agenda, we had a blow-by-blow account of what transpired on the 16th of August. The police said, what do you mean by blow-by-blow? Please remove this.
Excuse me?
Blow by blow.
Blow by blow. Please remove this. And it was removed. I mean, but when you got there, obviously, we got the permission. When you got there,
yes,
we were on stage.
So I mean, it's interesting how you're saying that everyone is saying, no, we don't know what happened. No one did anything. And they're still resistant to any kind of description of what actually happened. Like the lack of accountability is on even whether the thing really happened to these people or not.
But that's why, and you must understand, so even though now you know, the different administration can take different positions, but they are still there. They still deny that a massacre happened. They still deny that they killed someone. They're in effect from their actions, still denying that we stopped you from having a father. We are the reason why when you go to the mountain, your father won't be the one who checks up on you.
No.
They are not there.
They're not even there at all.
They're not there. As far as they are concerned, the 16th of August didn't happen.
I think it's for the very same reason why post the celebration, the commemoration of the 13th year, we would have a state that then goes and says, let's rather have a national dialogue.
Yes.
I mean, it waters down the
Definitely,
significance
yes.
of the Marikana massacre. It says, let's have a different focus. I mean, as much as Marikana might have been a massacre of the magnitude of 1960 Sharpeville, but our current state says it's got nothing to do with us. We can all gather at UNISA and just talk about
just have a like you said, a water down whatever. We have many problems, and then just kind of subsume it into one of the many problems we have in South Africa. But I want to know from both of you what you think the effect Marikana has had on, I don't know, on us as a society, on us on a political level, but also as people who work within the human rights kind of spaces. What difference did it make, or what effect did it have on our country in a political and human rights sense?
I'll go first. I can't say this as a lawyer, but I can say this as Nomzamo. Marikana started 10 years of youth revolt in South Africa. Again, when I think of Marikana, I think of Usapendu Nomambush, who went to the same secondary school, who come and work at Lonman. I think of what Mzokolo told me about how the discussions about the strike happened while they were playing soccer. I think so. And then I think, so 2012 starts that. What happens in 2015? Where fees must fall. We have we have a movement.
Yes.
We have a movement of youth who are saying, this is not what we expected out of this democracy. So politically, that's what Marikana means. And I think we always forget to count the victories of Marikana.
Yes.
Good or bad, when our clients at the end of the commission, they wrote to Lonman and they said, there's no food at home. We want you to allow us to replace our husbands.
Okay.
And our sons. We want to send someone else to the mine.
How? I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm just thinking of like the different conversations with different people.
Yes.
And so they do go and replace their loved ones at Lonman. So that even now, after even another process of situations, maybe now we have one family member
from each
of, in fact, now from each of the 44 that died in that week is employed at Lonman. At Sibanye, sorry now. And all of them earn beyond 12.5 today. Okay. Our clients clean. So as cleaners at Sibanye,
they're earning more than the living wage that the mine workers fought for in 2012.
And it's not, I don't know the exact time, but I think it's either 2021, I think it's 2021, that became the reality, 2022, yes. And that became the reality. And that is the power of Marikana. Amku says, we when the massacre happened, the next year we went on a 5-month strike. We mobilized the mine workers said, if you will kill our friends and maim us for our labor, then we'll keep it.
Yes.
And that's an uncounted victory of the strike,
yes,
of the massacre. When I think about what it means, for instance, to claim your rights in a context where you know your life is on the line. Unfortunately, we've continued to have that example of You stand up, you get slapped
Get
down.
shot down.
When COVID happened, we had a law that says you must stay in your homes, or the virus will kill you. But before anyone was dead from the virus, 2 people had been killed by security forces of this country. At some point, that included a child with a mental disability.
Oh, that was a terrible.
So I'm just trying to show
Mm-hmm.
you that yes, there's a massacre. There's lack of accountability for that
Mm-hmm.
massacre. It then creates impunity within the police.
Yes.
I know there's a report from UPCOF that says there's about a 3% conviction rate for the police in the criminal justice system and a 5% conviction rate within their internal disciplinary process.
Internally. Wow.
So not even a 10% threshold. So impunity is in the DNA
yes.
of the SAPS. And Marikana was a time post, and we could have even said, like, it's a tragedy. It wasn't supposed to happen. And then we could have just taken some decisions to make sure it never happens again. And every decision that has been taken, even the decisions that are being taken in August 2025, are decisions towards police impunity.
Yes.
They are decisions that tell you, as a Black person living in South Africa, that if you speak up at the cost of your life.
Yes.
That you must be able to put it on the line. You must come knowing. And I'm saying this even not just looking at the example of mine workers, or maybe it's going to say people are uneducated. Look at what happens on campuses.
Every single year that students rise up, there are guns. There were guns and security forces when children were protesting, when the Kwekwe case came up. Children were on the front line protesting, and there they were. Even got military involved.
You know what Marikana means for me? In essence, it's a blot on our democracy insofar as it having caused us to have the most public commissions of inquiry. And in my view, it ought to be the nation looking into what evidence was laid in front of the commission, what outcomes it arrived at, and how we still continue to proceed as though nothing happened as a nation. So I'm saying we need to stop making use of commissions of inquiry just to pacify aggrieved communities. We need to look into what transpired in Marikana and say, as a nation, something like that ought not to have happened, and we must make sure that going forward we don't have that. And I can tell you now that there's strides and progress that were made simply because we got to align with the downtrodden in the Marikana equation. People are now earning 12,500, and we are saying, how best are we going to make use of the courts to come to conclusions that were supposed to have been arrived at by the Farlam Commission of Inquiry, which were fair, that looks into the exact mechanization of what transpired and say what is the outcomes that should have been arrived at.
Definitely, that's what was needed, and in most cases of commissions of inquiry, what is needed is justice. And what is needed is to say something went wrong. Can someone be held accountable, and can we have results that point to justice? And the courts are working towards that because the people are pushing towards that. But yeah, I think I like that. Commissions of inquiry have not brought us much. I mean, I think we're still sitting with evidence from state capture, the Zondo Commission, and barely any convictions as a result of that. But I think I've enjoyed hearing about perhaps maybe most of the progress that has been made. And I think a lot of people have not known some of the successes of the cases of compensation and the cases of getting to pushing towards, sort of an apology, pushing towards accountability, some of the results of the reports that were made and the information that came out of that. And also, I think to also understand that Marikana did spark something in terms of fighting in South Africa. I think maybe we were in a bit of a different conversation we had. Someone was just like, no, we were in the Rainbow Nation. People were still rainbowing. And Marikana just comes and you're like, as Joseph Matunjwa said, the life of a black man in South Africa is cheap. I think getting face to face with that, the value of our lives is still not as valuable as we want it to be post democracy in that sense. But also enjoying that EFF is also a product of Marikana. I was like, I should mention this.
Yes.
And it is something that has been central to I guess the formation and what we fight for.
So I'll say this. I work for a public interest legal services organization. So we always get labeled. There was, I think at some point, a headline in a community newspaper, ANC aligned lawyers. And then when I think when the EFF was launched, we were tagged as EFF aligned lawyers because you had, as you launched the EFF, you had the widows of Marikana there front stage. And even as we look at the 10-year anniversary, you said actually you were there when we started this. We want you to see what has happened 10 years on. So I think that's definitely true. And again, this story about it being part of a youth uprising in South Africa is true. And EFF is very much
part of that.
Part of that story. And I think it's important to say these things when we are able to. There's been many struggles by young people where we've seen the EFF show up. I represented, in fact, the organization that I work for represented a young woman against Rhodes University. And we remember the time that the university was shaking in their boots because the EFF issued a press statement. the EFF issued a press statement to say, we want to know about this. And then the university was just like, they set the EFF on us.
Wow. As if we're some sort of dogs. Like.
So, but just to say, it is in those moments. It is in those moments that we can say there's a value to a black life.
Yes.
The value of a black life might mean nothing to Roger Filamo. It might mean nothing, even to the black policeman who wielded those guns. But it is important for us.
Yeah.
That we are clear about the value of a black life. And I think for my clients, having done this now, a 13-year journey, don't know how much longer it's going to be, to know that there's someone somewhere who thinks because you gunned down Tobile Mpumza, I have a problem.
Yes.
Look, I think to reflect on that point, it is indeed true that Marikana culminated in the formation of the EFF. And I'm glad that, history has got no blank pages. In that the history of the organization as well as the importance of Marikana in it are captured in a book, The Coming Revolution. And I'm glad to mention that I'm mentioned in there by name. It is as a result of the presence of the bigger brother that one is able to move on and say, how best do I make sure that I fight the system?
Yes.
Simply because had it not been for the formations as well as the unity that was displayed and shown to people that had been affected at the time, we couldn't have been here. One can just sit and reflect on what kind of outcomes would have been reached by the Farlam Commission had the terms of reference been left as they were. Where the then President Zuma had left the inputs of the deceased
survivors
as well as of these survivors. So it was just going to be a bleak picture of a black man seeking to go and fight out the system there, where they were told that you can't be coming directly to an employer simply because you are you've got a union. You are unionized. So you're supposed to go to the office of NUM at the time. When what happened right after was that people were shot, and this entire thing caused what we have now, where the president then went on and characterized the labor dispute.
Yes.
So I can only say that we ought to be, as a nation, proud to have organizations that says, how best do we make sure that we take care of our own?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for taking us on this journey. Thank you for your passion. I've really enjoyed the passion you've both shown. And I can tell that it's obviously coming from the hard work and also the people you've represented in this situation. So thank you very much for the work you've done and for coming to join us and just having this conversation 13 years on. And I hope we can continue to have these conversations until, it's a significant part of South Africa's history. So good luck with the rest of the cases. And, as you said, we are going to keep saying that these lives are valuable and we have a problem. I like that. Thank you. Thank you, viewers, for joining us. Please enjoy the podcast.